friends, I invite you to pray with me for a moment. Most gracious, most loving God, we give you thanks for this day. We give you thanks for your presence that is always here with us. We give you thanks for gathering us in this place as this community of faith. We ask that you would open us to your presence. Open our eyes, our ears, our hearts, our minds, that we might be filled with your unconditional love. That as we live our lives each and every moment, we might do so, sharing that love, spreading your justice everywhere that we go. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. This text in Isaiah spoke to me in a number of different ways. There were a couple of different parts that caught my attention. But as we are here on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, as we are here the day before Martin Luther King Jr. Day, there is a piece that caught my attention a little bit more, right? It seemed to relate a little bit to this circumstance. That word about being called a servant, well, that's kind of the whole text, right? The whole text talks about Israel being God's servant, or one being called to be a servant of God. All right, we can take that. Perhaps we are called to be God's servants. Jesus calls us to be followers of God, to do God's work in the world, right? But then there's this little part that says, that job is a little too easy for you. The job of just restoring Israel and bringing back the people of Jacob. If you remember, Jacob is the one who was named Israel, right? So when you're talking about the children of Jacob, you're talking about the whole people of Israel, God's chosen people. It's too small a job for you to just restore them. I'm going to make you a light to all the nations, that my salvation may reach to the ends of the earth. Okay. So that's a pretty big job, right? That's a pretty big deal. To bring salvation, to bring redemption, to bring freedom to all of the world. I think restoring Israel seemed like a pretty decent challenge in the first place. But that's what we are told the call is. Here in Isaiah's setting. Well, this probably wasn't the actual prophet Isaiah, but one that came after. During the Babylonian exile, when Judah had been dispersed, they were no longer in their homeland. Not called simply to restore Israel. When was that ever going to happen? But to bring salvation to all the world. Yes, tomorrow is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I think he had a good understanding of his call to be a servant, of his call to restore God's people. Right? He spoke, as I talked about with our younger people, he spoke about rights for black folks. He spoke about the need to lift them up. The need to change our systems. Because we were working on a very uneven keel. But he wasn't just about elevating the lives of black people. His vision, his mission was broader than that. He understood that the liberation, his liberation as a black man, was tied up with the liberation of all of God's people, all who live in this nation. He got involved not just in this one small area, but he spoke about the Vietnam War, right? He talked about peace. He was anti-war. He talked about bringing up all of the people in this nation who suffered in poverty. Talked about jobs. It's too light of a thing, perhaps, he heard God saying to him. It's too small of a job for you to simply help elevate, to bring some freedom, some peace, some justice to my beloved black children. You will be a light to the nations to help bring salvation to all of this nation. And then there's that seventh verse we get that talks about being despised, being abhorred. You remember that one? Doing this kind of work didn't bring a lot of love for MLK, right? At least not from some people. He was monitored, he was harassed, he was attacked, he was bombed, and we know that he was jailed and then ultimately assassinated. This work does not come without risk. I think then to our time. Who is being called? Who is God calling to continue in this work? Where do we see that light shining? Those called to be a light, to bring salvation to this world. Well, in my opinion, recently we have a number of folks who are coming forward. A number of organizations, indeed, because one person can't do it all. Martin Luther King didn't do it by himself, right? The kids knew that. We know that. There are organizations, there are people, there are communities coming together to continue this work, to elevate this nation. Black Lives Matter. The movement for Black lives. I believe they are serving as a light to this nation, a light to the nations. What does a light do? It helps us to see, right? It helps us to see things that perhaps we weren't able to see before. Recently, many people's eyes, in particular white people's eyes, have been opened to the atrocities that have been happening for years and years and years in this nation. The way people with black and brown bodies have been treated by those who swear to protect them. Video cameras have shown us. This didn't just start happening in the last few years, right? But a light has gone on, and white people, we are now seeing these things. We are being called by this light to do something about it. We see the injustice. How can we, sitting here as those who proclaim to be followers of Jesus, sit and do nothing? The light is shining. How will we respond? The water protectors, right? The water protectors up in the Dakotas, standing up to protect their sacred grounds, standing up to protect the sacred water that gives life to us all. They have served and continue to serve as a light to the nations. Seeing how Native people, well, if their water gets polluted, that doesn't seem to matter quite as much, according to some who rerouted this pipeline through their lands. But people gathered, Native people gathered, and allies gathered together and said, no. They shine a light on what was happening there in North Dakota. They are seeking to bring some salvation to this world, to this nation. But I don't think just that black folks alone, Native folks alone, black and brown people are the ones who are called to do all of the light shining. Yes, we need to pay attention to what they are saying, to what they are showing us as white people. But I believe we too are called to be a light. We are called to shine this light that we have within us. We all have it. This light that God has infused us with. To show forth truth, to unveil injustice. To bring about redemption, freedom, salvation. I ask the kids, how do you start doing that? And I ask you, how are you shining that light? How are you doing it? Are you doing it? Is your light becoming more of a kind of a flicker? Or are you seeking to build it? Joining your light with others? Some of you I know are going to Washington, D.C. here in the next week, seeking to shine a light in our nation's capital, to bring a light that hopefully more will see the sexism, the racism, the homophobia. I could go on. That's coming to Washington in our president-elect and with his cabinet, saying we need to do better. We deserve better as a nation. But not all of us are going to go there, and that's okay. Newton needs light too. You know, I mentioned to the kids, I'm involved with this racial harmony and justice working group here in Newton, Iowa. I don't do that work because I believe I just need to work with my community. My call is to bring forth justice, racial justice in particular for this group, in this community. But because I believe that my work here impacts the greater good, that what I do locally impacts a greater world. You know that whole thing, think globally, act locally? Yeah. I think that's a little bit of what's going on in Isaiah here. It's too small a job just to do it in Newton. It's too small a job just to do it in Congregational United Church of Christ. But you gotta do it here You got to do it in Newton. You have to do it in Iowa so that it will grow. Friends, we are called to be a light. We are called to partner together with Martin Luther King Jr., to partner together with Black Lives Matter, to partner together with water protectors in North Dakota and throughout this nation, to partner together with the women and the men who will be gathering in Washington, D.C. this coming weekend, and to shine our light. That God's truth, that God's justice, that the freedom, the redemption, the salvation that God offers might be realized here and all throughout this world. 2016 was a year without a lot of light for a lot of people. Friends, we are called. We are invited. We are challenged to use our gifts, to open our eyes, to follow, to find those other lights, and to add our light to them. That this whole nation, this entire world might be set ablaze, not in an arson kind of way, but in a way that illumines, that we can see who God really calls us to be. Right? We are not Greek and Jew. We are not slave and free. We are not black and white. We are not straight and gay. We are not poor and rich. We are God's beloved people, period. Yes, let us acknowledge the ways we are different. Let us see one another for who we truly are. And let us honor that. Let us celebrate that. Friends, let us shine. I challenge you. I dare you. Sometimes I double dog dare you. I triple double dog dare you to find a way that you are going to shine your light this week, this month, this year. That God's salvation, redemption, freedom, God's realm of love, justice, and peace might be more fully realized here in this place and throughout this world in 2017. Let us shine our light. Amen. I'm going to give you a moment, because when you leave this place, things get busy. I'm going to give you a moment to stop and think. What was going through your head? What are some ways you are feeling called? You are hearing God call you to shine that light, to act, to move, to organize. Let us be together now in a moment of